Hello world, this is the unknown voice here with the Grimy Truth, back here once again, here with something a little bit different today, taking a swerve, something quite a bit different, something you probably didn't expect, so let's jump into it, here we go. Now, I was feeling a bit nostalgic the other day, browsing through YouTube, looking up the classic video games and the like, and I was stuck when I came across something in the comment section for the classic endings of the Tekken video games about King and Armor King. Now, if you don't know, King and Armor King are two wrestler characters from the Tekken video games. Tekken is a fighting game from Namco, came out in like 1995. Anyway, you probably know who they are, that's why you're on this video. Now let's get right into it. Now, people in the comment section were saying or heavily implying that King and Armor King are based on Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, two deceased professional wrestlers from World Wrestling Entertainment, and it sounds bizarre, sounds crazy. I was like, what the fuck? The timeline doesn't match and the dead, what the hell ever. I went on to Google, right, and I did a little research, and what I found was fucking mind-blowing. Now, people probably don't know about this. That's what this channel's here to do, to explore the routes a bit less traveled and talk some shit. This is the Grimy Truth, so let's get into it, baby. If you don't know, the bit of controversy that's around this is the fact that Chris Benoit, one of the two wrestlers that this might be based on, he actually killed himself and his family and his wife and his child and himself back in like 06 or so. It was crazy. Major thing, you probably know about it. I guess this does tie into true crime in a way. I went to the Tekken Wiki. And when I went to the Tekken Wiki, I looked up Armor King and I looked up King, right? That's what any sensible person would do if they want to figure out more about the favorite character or where it comes from. So, what I found out will astound you. I scrolled all the way down. Now, what I found in the trivia section, it says, trivia about Armor King General. Armor King's possibly based on the real-world masked wrestler known as Black Tiger. Now, that was the first jump off for me because I know a little bit about pro wrestling, was a big fan as a child. Now, Black Tiger, believe it or not, is actually a wrestler portrayed by Eddie Guerrero. So this was the first hint that blew my mind. What the fuck? King and Armor King might be based on Eddie and Benoit. And then this comes up, actually hinting at the fact that Armor King might be based on a wrestler portrayed by Eddie Guerrero. Now, it gets more crazy. Let's go. When I was looking up these facts, I looked up Black Tiger, right? It seemed like the right thing to do now. Black Tiger 2 specifically, because I wanted to be sure. So I did that. Now, there's an entire Facebook page, mind you, dedicated to Eddie as Black Tiger. Pictures of old Black Tiger, new Black Tiger looking like he's got fucking pajamas stretched over his face, a better mask, a shit mask, a fucking looking like a pinata. Eddie Guerrero really did portray Black Tiger, and it's fucking mental. Now, from the small comment I saw on the YouTube video to the Tekken Wiki, now to this Facebook page, it hints a little bit more, and I'm like, what the fuck? So now I started to do research a little further, and I was like, all right, let's let's watch the gameplay from Tekken, from all the Tekken games and the King and Armor King, and let's see if there's something familiar. And what I found also was crazy. This is why this warranted a video. Now, look at the fighting styles of King and Armor King. It actually kinda looks like the contrary, like King is a luchador. He fights like Eddie Guerrero, the Mexican wrestling style out of Mexico, you know what I'm saying? And Armor King, the hard-hitting suplexes and the technical arm locks and the knees and it's fucking mental. Like, King fights a lot like Eddie, and Armor King really does fight a lot like Benoit. And like, if we take out the Tekken Wiki part out of the Black Tiger thing out of the equation, it almost looks like the contrary. Even Armor King's signature pose, the thumb across the throat pose, it's just like Chris Benoit's thumb across the throat pose, the cutthroat pose that they do. And Armor King puts the thumb down at the end, even like Benoit kind of does the cutthroat and then pushes the thumb down at the end. It's crazy how similar they are. Like, it's absolutely crazy. And also, in Tekken Tag Tournament, at the ending of the game, when you beat the game with Armor King, he fucking does the crippler crossface. He does it right there. He does it in the video. It's absolutely mental. If you don't believe me, I'll throw it in the video. But look, he fucking does it. Yeah, and it's mental, and King also being from Mexico, you know what I'm saying? But King, they say he's based on another wrestler, Fray Tormento, who has the exact same story as King does in the game. He's an underground fighter, wrestler, luchador, who wrestles for the money to keep the orphanage open. It's crazy. But it almost makes too much sense for the Eddie and Benoit thing, and I couldn't ignore it, to be quite honest. It was fucking mental. And the Tekken wiki, mind you, it is a bit weird. Like, it has every detailed bit of both versions of the King and Armor King story, but also it has a bit of not factual information, like saying that Armor King died in a bar brawl with King Craig Murdoch, when we know, if you played the Tekken storyline, that that's not how it happened. He died accidentally at the hands of Craig Murdoch in a sparring wrestling sort of accident. But maybe that's just the American version. If you don't know what I mean by both versions, the American version of Tekken was censored a little bit because Tekken 1 and 2, because some of the plots in the story was a little crazy for the kiddies in America. But if you played the Japanese Tekken, you find the real story. But there's honestly 2 stories of Tekken. I suggest you check it out for almost every character, including King and Armor King. For those who don't know, let me break it down for you. Full transparency, let's go. Alright, so here on the Tekken wiki it talks about it. This isn't where I found out about this, mind you. I actually found out in another documentary about Tekken. It's on YouTube. I'll put the fucking title in the description or something if it's still here. I saw it years ago, but this has the exact same information about the 2 versions of Tekken. But here we go. So it says here, for the first Tekken, version 1, Armor King is a rival from the time King was a rookie. King accidentally crushed one of Armor King's eyes during a match some time ago, and since then, King became the star of professional Mexican wrestling world, basking in the spotlight. Armor King's handicap quickly spent him in the opposite direction. Armor King has joined the tournament to destroy King and take back the control of the professional wrestling world. Sorry I read that so shit. But yeah, and then version 2 says, Armor King entered the Iron Fist tournament to face his enemy rival King. The two had an intense battle, with King winning the fight and leaving Armor King to bow out of the tournament. After the tournament, he would come back and... what the fuck? See, this is the version I don't know. The two would go to put aside the differences and become friends. So I guess that makes sense why in the American version, King and Armor King are kind of friends like in the first Tekken, but in the Japanese, the real version, they're not friends, they're not partners, they're rivals. Armor King's coming to kill King because he crushed his eye in a fighting match, and it's crazy. That's why Armor King only has one eye. Now, here we go for Tekken 2. This is where it gets juicy. So it says for Tekken 2, version 1, the king of underground professional world wrestling, Armor King, and King desperately fought each other in the past, but now they're bound together by a powerful friendship that only comrades would know. Worried about the dead-end lifestyle his former adversary had drank himself into, Armor King tells King about the tournament that Kazuya is sponsoring, thinking that it's King's ticket out of despair. The underground, yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's the American version that, like, most people know, right? Like, American UK-ish version, because I know that version as a kid, but then I grew up and knew the true story. Here's the real story, version 2 of the story, for Tekken 2. After the events of the first Tekken, Armor King disappeared from the professional fighting world. However, he would have the limelight in the underground rings. After some time, Armor King heard news from the orphanage that King had gone missing because of financial difficulties and a child's death in his care. Worried about his old friend, he went to search for him and found him drunk in an alleyway, mentally broken. He gave his rival his jaguar mask back and convinced him to get back into the fighting spirit just in time for the tournament. That's why in the beginning of Tekken 2, there's that scene of Armor King throwing the mask down at King when King is like in the alley drunk. Go look up the Tekken 2 intro. You'll see King drunk as fuck falling down in the alley, and then Armor King comes and gives him his mask and says, fuck up, it's time to go. That's the real story that they don't tell you. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. But yeah, there's 2 stories to Tekken. You guys should look this shit up. But also, the Eddie Benoit thing. What do you guys think? I think it's crazy. It warranted a video, right? And hell yeah, so let me know. This has been the motherfucking unknown voice here at the Grimy Truth. A crazy video, something different, a little bit shorter this time. Let me know what you guys think. Hell yeah, holler back at me. Let's go!